2. How we doing, family? It's your boy, Yo, and this is another episode of YoHoops. I go through every NBA game every day. Today's Wednesday, April 1st, new month, and we have a 9-game NBA card. I'm going to walk you through my thoughts and let you know what sides I like, so please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your favorite game in the comment section below. Without further ado, let me get into today's games. Recap yesterday, we got it done, 4-3 on the 7-game card. Obviously nothing to write home about, up 1 game, but it was a big deal for me because I was a tiebreaker on the month. I ended March with a record of 117, 116, and 3. With the juice, that is down a couple units, but we're coming off of a 30-game winning month in February, so decent to follow that up with a 500 month. Not many people in the world end up winning over thousands of games, so stick with me and we'll keep the momentum rolling. In our first matchup of the evening, we have the Atlanta Hawks in Orlando taking on the Orlando Magic. Hawks are minus 165 on the money line, and the total is 233. The Magic come into this one on the second leg of a back-to-back, but no travel as they remain at home. I was impressed that they got the win over the Suns last night, but Phoenix was on no rest, and guys like Paolo and Desmond Bane ended up playing 37 minutes apiece. Honestly, I don't even understand this line, because the Hawks are playing on another level. They're currently on a 16-2 run, and the last time they played, we cashed with them laying points against the Celtics. This is a step down in competition, and the Magic are still without Franz Wagner and Anthony Black. I wouldn't be surprised if they lost this one by 20. I'm taking the Hawks laying the 4 as my first selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Philadelphia 76ers in DC taking on the Washington Wizards. Sixers are minus 1,500 on the money line, and the total is 239.5. Phillies look good since getting Paul George, Maxey, and Embiid back, but I still don't know if they look like 16-point favorites. They lost to the Heat in their last game without Norman Powell, and the game before that, they got a 4-point win against the Hornets. They obviously have more talent on the floor, but some of these guys have been out for so long that they're not used to some of the new rotations or teammates. I know the Wizards stay getting blown out, so I'm not rushing to the window to bet with them, but tonight, everyone's on Philly, and I think we see a little rust. I'll lean to the Wizards plus a 16 as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Boston Celtics in Miami taking on Miami Heat. Celtics are minus 200 on the money line, and the total is 228.5. I gotta give Miami credit, they've been one of the best home teams in the league. They come into this game with an ATS record of 22-16. Even with guys out, they've been able to find wins, but tonight is where I have to draw the line. The Celtics come into it at full strength, and the Heat are still without Norman Powell. It's still possible that Boston catches the Pistons for the #1 seed, so I expect full effort down the stretch. With Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown in that playoff mode, I don't see Miami keeping this one competitive. I'm taking the Celtics laying the 5 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Indiana Pacers in Chicago taking on Chicago Bulls. Bulls are minus 185 on the money line, and the total is 247. This is definitely the most meaningless game on the board. It's in both teams' best interest to lose it. The Pacers are tied for last place with the Wizards, and the Bulls are 1 game behind the Bucks in the 12th seed. I can't see a real edge in terms of a side, but I am looking at the total. Going through both rosters, there's literally 0 defenders on the floor. I guess you can say Jay Huff, but he hasn't even been doing much recently. This total set this high for a reason, considering both teams want to lose it. It's probably free passes to the bucket, and we end at something like a 255 total. I am seeing a few guys being upgraded like Obi Toppin and Siakam. There should be enough scoring to get it done. I'm taking the Pacers and Bulls over 247 as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Milwaukee Bucks in Houston taking on Houston Rockets. Rockets are minus 2,000 on the money line, and the total is 217.5. Both teams come into this one on the second leg of back-to-backs. The Bucks fly in from Milwaukee while the Rockets remain at home. Both got dominant wins last night, but the Rockets starters actually ended up playing more minutes. That makes sense since they were up against the Knicks, but it doesn't make me want to lay 17 points tonight. The Rockets are starting to get in that playoff mode, winning their last 3 straight, but I can't overlook the fact that they're 14-22 against the spread in Houston. You're losing money betting with them. They stay overvalued, and that's probably the case again tonight. I'm seeing Kyle Kuzma and Miles Turner in the lineup. They can easily lose this one by 12. I'm taking the Bucks laying the 17.5 as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the New York Knicks in Memphis taking on Memphis Grizzlies. Knicks are minus 900 on the money line, and the total is 228. The Knicks come into this one on the second leg of a back-to-back, flying from Houston to Memphis. They got beat up by the Rockets last night. Granted, they haven't been the best on the road, but I see this as a perfect bounce-back spot tonight. The Knicks are only one game ahead of the Cavs in the 3rd seed, so they can't even afford to let the Grizzlies hang around. Memphis is still playing through all types of injuries, so it's basically Cedric, Coward, and Gigi against the Knicks at full strength. For New York, it's playoff time, and for the Grizzlies, it's adios amigos. I'm taking the Knicks laying the 14 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Sacramento Kings in Toronto taking on Toronto Raptors. Raptors are minus 800 on the money line, and the total is 226.5. The Raptors come into this one on the second leg of a back-to-back, flying from Detroit back home to Toronto. I can't even lie, that game last night had me sick. The Pistons are playing through all types of injuries and still blowing teams out, no problem. Last night they shot 57% from deep. I think that says more about Detroit's offense than Toronto's defense. Like I mentioned yesterday, Toronto's only one game out of the play-in, so they desperately need wins. I expect a concerted effort tonight. The Kings are 2 games out of last place, and they're sitting Westbrook tonight. They probably expect a blowout. I'm taking the Raptors laying the 13 as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Denver Nuggets in Utah taking on Utah Jazz. Nuggets are minus 1600 on the money line, and the total is 248.5. Denver should obviously win this game, but they haven't exactly been blowing teams out. They've only covered this spread in 2 of their last 10 games. The only person on their IR tonight is Aaron Gordon, who's listed as questionable. This close to the playoffs, they should win it by 20. I'm leaning towards Denver, but rather than taking a side, I'm looking at a prop. He's kind of my go-to guy in these blowout style spots. I'm taking Christian Braun to go over 10.5 points. He's gone over this line in 9 of his last 10 games, and he's getting even more looks if this ends up being a blowout. I'ma lock it in as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the San Antonio Spurs in Golden State taking on Golden State Warriors. Spurs are minus 850 on the money line, and the total is 226.5. The Warriors haven't looked great since Steph went down, but they are guaranteed the 10th seed in the West. I don't even know if they can get out of the play-in, but at least they have a shot. The Spurs come into this one at full strength, and I expect them to get the dominant win, but rather than taking a side, I'm looking at another prop. I'm taking Victor Wembanyama to stay under 26.5 points. He averages 24, so they're already reaching just because he went off on Monday, and if this game's a blowout, there's no way he's playing 30 minutes. The Spurs play the Clippers tomorrow, so this is also the front end of a back-to-back. They more than likely conserve Wemby's minutes. I'ma lock it in as my last and final selection. And that's going to conclude today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Solid month in March. We ended it with a record of 117, 116, and 3. That's all against the spread, and we're coming off a 28-game winning month in February. Let's make sure to finish the regular season strong. I appreciate all the support so much. I do this every day for free, so please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It's your boy, Yo! And until the next one, I'ma catch y'all. Peace.